Jobs plan to help rebuild roads and bridges. Joining us now to talk about a whole host of issues, Republican Senator John McCain from Arizona. And Senator, what a treat to have you on a Friday. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jenna. And it used to be BIOB, blame it on Bush. Now it's BIOC, blame it on Congress.
It's a good acronym.
What have we been doing? What have we been doing the last 3 years? The stimulus package, Obamacare, all that. Look, for 2 years they had overwhelming majorities in both houses of Congress. But you know, this is really remarkable performance by the president. And usually when presidents are overseas, they don't criticize the opposition party, but most of those things have been violated by the president so far, so I guess this isn't surprising.
Well, let's just talk about major themes. The president said today's jobs numbers really show us that we have to pass the jobs bill. What do the jobs numbers today actually tell you about what we should do and what the role of government should be?
Well, first of all, remember, if we pass the stimulus package, the maximum unemployment was going to be 8%. Hello. Look, the problem with the economy in America today is largely due to the uncertainty of the business community has about regulations, about taxes, about policies that come pouring out of Washington, D.C. from the bureaucracies and the regulatory agencies, and also, by the way, a tax code which is completely out of whack. So if we could, for example, why don't we have a moratorium for a couple of years on new regulations? Why don't we cut the corporate tax to 25% and close all the loopholes so that everybody does pay taxes? Why don't we do some of the just simple things that would give small businesses and large a sense of certainty? Let me add one other thing, Jenna. It was the housing crisis that started this mess, and it'll be the housing crisis, the housing market settling down, that will bring us out of it, and their policies have been abysmal failures. We have 263,000 empty homes in Maricopa County, Arizona.
When you think about those numbers, it's quite incredible, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Fannie and Freddie in just a moment. But just going back to one thing that you just said about closing tax loopholes. Some of your fellow Republicans say when you've closed those tax loopholes, that's like raising taxes. Do you think some of your colleagues are being too rigid about that part of tax policy and should be open to compromising with Democrats to try to fix whatever the job crisis is and the debt crisis as well?
I know all Republicans, including me, who campaigned last year saying that we wouldn't raise taxes, is for simplifying the tax code, reducing taxes, the overall tax rate, and closing these loopholes and giving American people a tax code that's that big rather than one that's that high. All America, all Republicans are in favor of that. But what the Democrats are demanding is just outright tax increases. And frankly, that's not the commitment we made to the American people in 2010.
When you showed us the size of a tax policy you'd like, I thought you were going to reach into your pocket and pull out a postcard like Rick Perry. Would you be for a plan like that?
The simpler the better.
All right.
The simpler the better. Do you know any American that understands the tax code today?
Well, not all of it. I don't think any of us really know the ins and outs of it, which is kind of hard to admit when it's such a big part of our lives. You know, just going back to what you were saying about the housing crisis, because there's still that debate on which deserves the most attention, the job crisis or the housing crisis, and what got us into this mess. You were pretty hot on the Hill the other day about some of these executives for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac getting bonuses. And I was doing some research on this. It's easy to forget that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have complete unlimited resources from the federal government through next year. So they can take as much money in support as they want, upwards of $300 billion. I mean, what's going on?
And they've just asked for $6 billion more, you know. And then this idiot that works overseas that says, well, you got to pay these people bonuses in order to get qualified people who will handle this. It was Fannie and Freddie that got us into this mess. It was Fannie and Freddie that should be phased out. And for him to make a statement like that, I just came over from a meeting, a wonderful gathering of the Defense Intelligence Agency, the people that are really vital in our national security. They're not getting paid $900,000. They're not getting paid $2.3 million bonuses. They're people who want to work for America and keep us safe. So this guy, I think his name is Murphy, is saying that we've got to give people millions of dollars in bonuses in order to do their job right for the American people, particularly after the abysmal record of corruption that characterized the behavior of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac throughout the 90s and until the crisis of 2008. Give me a break.
Senator, you just called someone an idiot. I just wanted to make sure I knew who. I mean, it wasn't directed at John, was it? I mean, who?
No. I was directed at the guy, and frankly, his name escapes me right now.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll be able to look it up. That justified these bonuses and $900,000 a year salary and bonuses to the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac executives as somehow necessary to get good and qualified people who will work for the good of this country to serve in government.
So what?
I know, look, that's
Sure.
an insult to the men and women who are in the military, by the way.
Because they serve our country, and you say that this is really about serving the country. So what's the goal? What's the end game for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? If we could do anything with it at this point, I mean, it's backing 90% of the mortgages in this country right now. I mean, it's so intertwined with our market.
I'd phase them out, and we tried to do that on the Dodd-Frank bill. By the way, two individuals who played a key role in the crisis that ensued. And remember, the Dodd-Frank bill was supposed to ensure that no institution was ever too big to fail. Do you think we've achieved that goal?
Well, I'll leave that to the viewers to decide. I have one final question for you. How do you like that for dodging that question, Senator? Let me just ask you one final thought on this, because something was described to me as an under or below the radar fight with the White House that you're having, and I'd like to get your words on it. Apparently, You're battling with the White House about detention policies for accused terrorists. Is that, in fact, an under the radar battle, and what's really going on?
No, really, actually, I'm trying to work with the White House. We had a meeting with Mr. Brennan, the head of counterterrorism in the White House, and some other White House staff yesterday to try to work out differences. Look, we just don't think that a Al-Qaeda member should be given Miranda rights, and we want to make sure that we're able to get legally and in keeping with the international law to get information that's necessary to prevent another attack. And so in the defense authorization bill in the Senate, we put in some pretty stringent restrictions. The White House has objected to that, and we're trying to work out our differences. I don't know if we will or not, but it's not a battle. Actually, it's a long sit-down discussion we've had with them. I hope we can succeed.
Senator, we covered a lot of ground. The housing crisis, the jobs crisis. You called someone an idiot. You gave us an acronym. Blame it on Congress. This was fun. We should do this more often, sir.
All right. It's a lot of fun. If it wasn't so important, it wouldn't be nearly so much fun. Thanks.
Some big topics. Thank you, Senator McCain. Thank you very much.
And for the record, he's always been very polite to me every time I've spoken with him.
I just wanted to clarify. There's a lot of people